me go ahead and just do this. Here we go.
And there's been a lot of pearl clutching over the last several days from my colleagues across the aisle on Donald Trump, Secretary Rubio, the Department of Government Efficiency's plan to reorganize the U.S. Agency for International Development, or as we all now know, U.S. They're screaming about Elon Musk over there, but hey, George Soros and his boy are okay. You know, they scream that we're all a threat to democracy when they've been systematically dismantling democracy before our eyes. They've been.
Man, I'm watching this through Asmund Gold, and the debate about government spending and where it's going has been very huge right now, as you probably already know. And I have a few thoughts on it. I think you have to start with Doge, or I thought it was Doggy. I didn't know what it was. The Doggy Style Group came into the White House. We're off the rails early. The Department of Government Efficiency, Doge. That's really where this starts. I'm going to use Asmund Gold as B-roll in the background. Was established as a part of President Donald Trump's grand plan to streamline government and cut waste. This is via which is actually in the site is in development right now. Maybe I'll just put up the Discord as the homepage while it's in development. But this is not from any article that I'm reading. This is middlemaga.com exclusive. Naturally, the idea that bureaucracy might actually shrink sent shockwaves through Washington, where inefficiency is not a bug, it's a career path. With Elon Musk now at the helm, Doge promised to do what no government agency had ever attempted: function properly. When Trump signed Executive Order 14158, formally creating Doge, the federal workforce responded as expected with lawsuits and existential dread. Oh no. The executive order rebranded the U.S. Digital Service as the U.S. Doge Service and embedded Doge teams. What's the Doge team? A bunch of young AI geeks. I said it a long time ago, and you're living it. We're living it now. Artificial intelligence is the tool of the revolution. Is Elon Musk doing a revolution? No, I think he's trying to find ways to take money and give it to the tiny hats. That's my theory. I haven't seen that borne out in proof yet, but that's my theory. But if he does do a revolution, and really he could publicize in live time where the money is going. If he does something like that, I'll be with him, but he hasn't done that on his X platform. Why would he do that here? But this executive order rebranded the Doge team. And what was their mission? To modernize IT systems. That means to turn Donald Trump into the first transhumanist president. Well, we have John Fetterman, who's a transhumanist senator, but in a different way, because Donald Trump is still has his faculties about him. Donald Trump is the face. Donald Trump is the aura. Donald Trump is the leader. Donald Trump is the presence. But the engine that is making this efficient is a match made in heaven with Doge. Yeah, we turned it. Elon Musk turned free speech into a video game on X, and now he's turning it into a video game with the government spending. And I do support that. They are here to cut redundant programs, Doges, and to figure out why taxpayers are paying $600 for a hammer. True story. Congress, which has never been particularly fond of efficiency, because when you're efficient, you can't hide. They immediately formed an anti-Doge coalition in an effort to stop what they saw as a horrifying concept, an executive agency that actually does something worthwhile. Republican lawmakers, thrilled at the thought of trimming government fat, cheered on Doge as if it were a Trump ally in bureaucratic form. Let's look at the legal challenges updated as of February 11th. So they accessed the Treasury Department systems. February 6, 2025, U.S. District Judge Colleen Colcatelli in Washington, D.C., issued a ruling limiting Doge's access to the Treasury Department's payment system. The judge allowed 2 Doge-connected special government employees to have read-only access to the Bureau of Fiscal Service Systems, but restricted access to other people in the department to the department's records and systems. That is unconstitutional. The president's the only one that can decide who has access or who doesn't. Labor Department access. February 7th, the federal judge declined to immediately block Doge's access to the Department of Labor. But here we go. Labor unions expressed concern that Doge's involvement could compromise sensitive information. And the judge acknowledged the concerns, but at least at this time, they determined on February 7th that the unions had not demonstrated sufficient legal harm to warrant immediate action. But then also on February 7th, federal employees went even harder against Doge by filing a lawsuit to protect multiple agencies. So the first lawsuit on the 7th between Doge and the Department of Labor Systems said that they were trying to access it. They wanted to stop the access. The second one was for them by Doge to protect multiple agencies outside of the labor unions, including the Department of Health and Human Services, Education, and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. The lawsuit aimed to, and it's still going on right now, obviously, to prevent Doge from accessing sensitive data and reducing personnel within these agencies. They cited potential violations of federal privacy laws. No, there's no violation of privacy laws. They can see it. The privacy laws regulate what happens after someone who is authorized to see the data, what they do with it. So if Elon Musk were to be found, I don't know how we would know because the algorithm's private, but whatever. If it was found, that's a separate problem than this. If there was found that he used this data for another purpose, that would violate the law. And I don't even know if it'd be worth it for him to put himself at risk like that. Because who knows if the next president is anti Elon Musk and they dig in and find it, lock him up. It doesn't even make sense. Here's USAID ruling also on February 7th. He had a lot on February 7th. U.S. District Judge Carl Nichols blocked a plan to put 2,200 U.S. agency for the international development, that's what it stands for, the acronym, paid staff on leave. The ruling temporarily halted efforts to dismantle the agency as a part of Doge's missions to eliminate what they perceive as wasteful government expenditures. So what we saw here is they want to block the executive branch's ability to fire people in the executive branch. And I don't agree with this judge, but the problem isn't the judge. The problem is, number one, the problem is that Elon, the problem is more not Elon, but Elon's running it, so he's part of this, is the legal action. This needs to be filed to skip any type of appeal process. There shouldn't be any district judged court. This is over the fundamental powers. If a judge can stop the president from firing people in the executive branch, then that's a pretty big statement to make. It has to go straight to the Supreme Court. It's very similar to states versus states, Bush v. Gore, Nixon versus United States, I believe it was what it was called. Nixon, they all went straight to the Supreme Court. Access, and that's where some of these privacy laws came from, is after the Nixon stuff. Access to the Treasury Department systems, February 8th. U.S. District Judge Paul Engelmeyer got involved. And what did he do? This is when he issued a temporary restraining order blocking Doge officials from accessing Treasury Department payment systems. The order cited concerns over the potential disclosure of sensitive and confidential information. February 9th, JD Vance and Elon Musk criticized Judge Engelmeyer's decision to restrict Doge's access to Treasury payment systems. Musk suggested that federal judges who impede Doge's initiative should be impeached. And that's going to fast forward to today, February 11th is when I'm reading this. It's getting heated right now, huh? Vice President JD Vance and Elon Musk are coming hard. And when they came out with that, I said, this is what they're doing. They're trying to remind the judiciary that the judiciary has no enforcement power. This is the same thing that happened under Joe Biden. Remember, we said Joe Biden did the unconstitutional non-eviction notice, and the Supreme Court said it's unconstitutional. He did it again. They said it's unconstitutional, your loan forgiveness program. He said, I don't care if it's unconstitutional, did it again. There's nothing to stop. I said, when that happened, I said he could do that 100 times. There's nothing to stop him from doing it. The judicial branch is nothing more than an opinion branch. And if your opinion is whack and you don't have the power, that's the check and balance from you to have a whack opinion. That's what JD Vance and Elon Musk were forewarning, not the lower courts, really the Supreme Court. As of February 11th today, we have more updates. There was, since the last one, the Engelmeyer preliminary injunction preventing Doge from accessing Treasury Department records. The Department of Justice filed a motion to lift that order, arguing that it constitutes an unconstitutional intrusion, which is obvious. Today, District Judge, is it Jeanette A. Vargas is expected to rule on the Justice Department's request to restore Doge's access to Treasury records. So we're kind of on pins and needles, waiting to see what happens with that. There is some member of the House did bring impeachment orders on the judge who tried to restrict the access of Doge to the Treasury. So we do have, after Elon Musk and JD Vance said, well, Elon Musk is the one that said it. Hey, we might need to impeach this federal judge, and others said it. That Congress is riding it up. Will that pass? I'm not sure. Would I support it? Absolutely, I would support it. Why wouldn't I support it? But let's go into the final piece here of it. My final takeaway here is really more on the separations of power. And the separation of power are very fundamental. It's very easy to understand. We're looking at judicial overreach, but it's really a failure that I think we should let them fail. Federal judges issue opinions. They have nothing else. There's no teeth behind it other than everybody else follows it. And if the people with power to enforce it can enforce it with arresting or whatever else, they'll do it. So right now, this opinion is on the executive branch. The executive branch is not going to enforce a DOJ raid. It's not even constitutional, can't even do it on the president. So you don't have any enforcement here. They don't pass laws. They don't run the government. That's what the judicial branch does. Congress can talk, they can sway opinions, they can investigate, and they can impeach if they need to. But they can't pass laws that impede executive power. They don't have the votes for impeachment, and that right now, and that's not a bug, that's the system working as designed. So Trump is very powerful right now, and the judiciary has to understand that. And they have to take that into account. Otherwise, they will render their own opinions useless and wasteful and irrelevant. This fight over Doge is a fight over executive power itself. I've talked about this on another video. Congress appropriates funds to groups like the USAID. There is nothing in the law that says the USAID, and they couldn't do it anyway, but there's nothing in the law that says USAID has to spend every single penny. So if they don't have to spend every single penny and they're in the executive branch, who decides? Congress puts the money in the purse. That's what appropriate means. So if you give me a super chat, that's you appropriated funds to my bank account. You don't have any control on whether I spend it, how I spend it, and you wouldn't even think that you did. But that's what Congress is arguing. Congress is appropriating money, putting money on the card, basically, for the USAID. And now Trump says, no, I don't want to spend that money on this or that and that. Now Congress is saying, no, Donald Trump, you can't. And the judge is blocking it, saying you can't spend money. You can't do that. Well, that doesn't make any sense. What's the point of the executive branch if Congress is the writer of the law and the executor of the law? They said the president's supposed to execute the law. Well, the law is that you had 10 million appropriated. That means the president executing the law means for that agency, you don't take that money and put it to another agency, and you don't spend over 10 million or whatever is appropriated. But if you want to say, I don't want to spend a dime, you can do that. That is executing the law. It might not be how you want it executed, but that is an execution of the law. Because if you were in power, you would spend all 10 billion and funnel it to your friends and all that. But I'm kind of excited about this because it is, even though I think they're going to do a bait and switch, it's still valuable information that the people can use. And Doge is doing what they promised to do. They're looking at waste. They're exposing inefficiency. They even said, let's go to the CIA and the Pentagon and all that. Let's do it. Let's terrify the bureaucrats in a peaceful way. This is a peaceful takeover. And the fact that Washington is losing its mind over it just proves that it's working.
The next clip is ready below. Welcome to After Show Carnage.